Hi, guys. Exciting news for season 4. The Thrive Tribe newsletter is for everyone and it's free.
To sign up for our newsletter and to get more out of Chasing Brighter and engage with our amazing community, go to chasingbrighter.com/newsletter to get the latest updates.
And every month we have freebies, so check it out.
Welcome to the Chasing Brighter podcast, the podcast created as a guide to make midlife the best life.
Are you ready to embrace the next chapter of your life with confidence and excitement? Your best life is just a listen away. Do you ever look at your calendar and think, this is not the life I wanted? Maybe your days are packed, but they leave you feeling drained. You're getting things done, but there's a quiet whisper inside saying, this is not it. Your life may be full, but not fulfilling. This week, we're talking about how to stop living on autopilot and start realigning your life with your values.
How you spend your time actually reflects what matters to you. Because when you're out of alignment, your body and your mind know it. But the good news is there are small shifts that can make a really big difference. So let's talk about what alignment really means, why it matters, and how to start feeling more at peace right now.
Living out of alignment causes low-grade anxiety, resentment, or burnout. You might be doing all the right things, checking boxes, helping others, staying busy, but you still feel exhausted or emotionally numb. And that's often a sign that you're living out of sync with your core values. It reminds me of the book Untamed. Is that reminding you of that, Kelly, where you're like,
Yeah,
you're
that's a
putting
good
on
point.
the mom or woman suit every day and you're just living the way you think that you should be living, but it's not really aligning. And there are symptoms of misalignment, and they can include dread Sunday night before the week begins.
Maybe it is resentment towards commitments you agreed to but really didn't want.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a persistent sense of, is this all there is? Or just overfunctioning for others and undercaring for yourself. For many of us, I think, your calendar can tell a story. And sometimes that story reflects obligations and expectations, but it's really not your truth. And maybe it's not a lot of the stuff you want to be doing.
Yeah. So then what do we do, right? What do? We tap into our values. What are values? They're not wishes, right? They're our compass. Values aren't goals or nice ideas. Again, they're your internal compass that guides your decisions, priorities, boundaries. They help you define what matters deeply, personally, authentically. So we have some examples of what values might include.
Yeah. I mean, maybe it's connection with others. Maybe it's just growth, personal growth, having more of a simple life. I think about it even as family, as
Yeah.
value. We can go on and on. Freedom, integrity, just what comes to mind for you.
Creativity, adventure, rest. I think depending on the season, I think our values can shift, right? And so I think
Mm-hmm.
during fall, when it's very busy, I don't know if our family calendar allows, it's fairly rigid. So I think then I kind of shift maybe fun and adventure with summer, maybe fun and adventure is my value on winter break. But in the fall, my value is absolutely connection, family, and rest, you know? And when we align our values, we end up feeling more energized, focused, emotionally balanced, even when life is full. So it's I think that kind of goes right to
Yes.
mindset and gratitude. Yes, my calendar is busy, but that doesn't mean I still can't eke out the values and make sure that my time is reflecting. We talk about this a lot. Our children are all in club sports and you're running from sports to sport to sport to sport. But if my value isn't driving and my value isn't being in the car, but my value is family and connection. And that is a really great time where I get to have one-on-one talks with my children. This is time where my husband is taking this for food creativity. He has taken on meal planning this time. And so his value is that we are his value is finances. And so he is really tightening the budget and like planning dinners and really having fun making different meals for the kids. And so even though time may be restricted, you can still have a focus on your values.
Is this also why you've had to start eating more oatmeal? Just kidding.
Yes.
The financing piece.
I can
It's cheap food.
I have to eat oats
You know,
now for my
yeah.
protein. No more steak.
I love that you say, it's about feeling more energized and focused even when your life is full, like even when your calendar is full. Maybe you are still feeling like it aligns with your values. I agree. I think that's a great point in fall. One of my values is not that it's not yours, would be wellness, right? And exercise and fitness. And so, trying to think about the decisions you make and how you align with that. So an example is I dropped Wes off for a baseball game, and it was an hour before the game started, and I had my AirPods and I was planning to walk because that was how I was going to fit in my fitness for the day. I knew I was going to spend that time doing something that's important to me. And so part of that is when your calendar is full is figuring out how you can still maintain that authenticity of what is important to you.
And we gave examples of what we do, but like next we just talk about how do you get back in alignment, right? And so we're not saying you need a total life overhaul, right? You just need to get honest with yourself and take intentional steps. So we have 3 steps here that you can take. And one is identify your 3 core values. What makes you feel alive, grounded, and like your fullest self?
So you can try a journal prompt, which is, when I feel most like myself, what is in my life, and kind of circle some themes around that. You can just also, one of the other like journal prompts can be, what are the things that are really important to you? Just rattle off, like, what are the things that are important to you if you look at your life holistically and think about, you know, what those values can be. And maybe it's more than 3, but just rattle off what you can and then just think about how you can really prioritize in some ways. What of those values is more important than others too. So
Yeah,
circle those. Yep.
and then I like when you say that too, like what makes me feel most like myself. And I think something that I think you and I have lost before and we have now is reading. And I think that we have been really big readers for the last probably 25 to 30 years. I mean, I know that you didn't always love reading, right? But
Yeah,
I
for sure.
definitely know that when I was married at 22, you and I were sharing books at that time. And so I always notice that is such a big thing that my life is out of alignment if I'm not reading because knowledge is a really big value of mine. And so I love that we are asking ourselves these questions. And so, circle those themes that keep coming up, and when you are doing that, those are clues for you to get to your core value.
Yeah. Yes. So that's step 1 is taking that kind of inventory and really thinking about what those 3 key core values are. The next step is audit your time. Take a look at your calendar and how you are spending time. Maybe how you spent time last week. It's fun just, even you and I use the legend planner too, where we can kind of plan out our week, which really comes in handy when we talk about these types of things. But really look at like, where are you spending your time? And, do they reflect your values? Are you
Yeah.
making space for things that matter to you?
Or are you just reacting to what's urgent? Or where am I saying yes when I mean no? I think I want to be really honest right now. And every day at 3:30, I am engaging in actions that do not reflect my values and I need help here. And so I really want to use me as an example and we get to step 3. But what has been happening for me is I start my day really early and by 3:30 I died. Like my brain is I have session session session. I'm picking up kids and I come home and I go and sit on this chair and I either scroll mindlessly, I get my computer and do work, or I put on a show. And those things don't reflect what I want to be doing. But do you have those days where you're so dead, but I'm not engaging in things that would energize me, you know? Do you have time in the day
I
that's
think that
tough?
that is the problem with the world today. It's
Yeah,
very easy to sort of like just really disengage and escape in some way.
that's what
And
I'm doing. I'm
I don't know though,
disengaging.
Jess, I think this goes back to a lot of other things we talk about where it's okay to do that, but it's in that moment of why am I doing this? Like I'm doing this to recharge, to really just kind of disengage. My brain needs a reset. I'm going to use this and just thinking about it as this intentional activity. And I think that's okay to do. But if
I think
you're
I'm doing
doing
it
that,
too long. Too long.
it's yeah, I mean there's definitely you know, I guess it depends on how you navigate that.
Maybe
And
set a timer. Sorry.
so yeah, and actually that's a good point is like so how what do we do, right? So
Step
we
3. Yeah.
yeah, we've found these moments we realize that there's stuff we're doing that we don't want to be doing, but how do we get ourselves out of it? So this is about, making some small adjustments. It's not about drastically upending some of the things that you're doing. We've been watching so much like lake house rehab or like island rehab, and all these people are like up and moving to like, you know, Bahamas and
Yeah.
deciding to like, live their life. And it's like, yeah, that would be great. But, you have your life now. And we're talking about these micro adjustments. So,
Yeah.
what are those things that you can do that are small that start to adjust and maybe taking a little bit more control of your calendar and how you can better align it with your values?
So I like what one of the things or tips here is like reclaim one evening a week for rest, creativity, or connection. And we talk so much about intention. And so I would much rather, as we're talking, get a puzzle out, get something out that is a little disengaging and mindful. I loved diamond painting last year and I had this like Halloween thing, a very elaborate thing that I was trying to do. So like get that back out, like maybe have some things set out and put out in front of me and also setting a timer. So you know what? I'm going to come home. I'm going to get Giovanni a snack, get him going on his homework, set a timer for 20 minutes and let myself mindlessly scroll. But then it's like shifting to other things that are relaxing but also more intentional and mindful. And I think that happens to so many of us. I think, like you're saying, we can disengage for like hours at a time, and that's not okay.
Yes.
And so, one of the things we can do too, like in the morning, shift your morning routine to include 10 minutes of journaling. Say no to meetings sometimes. I think I need to have like a day where I don't let myself work after 4. I think that would be good. But little small changes, looking at what you can do that can ripple into big transformation when they're rooted in your values. And so I think for me, I've talked a lot on the podcast. I struggle with rest. I struggle with not being productive. And so it's like, I don't know. It's like that balance of like, okay, I don't want to be productive and I want to allow myself to rest. But, it's like that pendulum. So then like completely disengaging is like too far. So how you kind of like swing back
Yeah.
and have that reflect your
Yes.
values. So then it's like identifying if rest is a value, which I said it was, how do you make that intentional? What does rest look like? And so as we go to our final point with alignment is that alignment is a filter and it just helps
Hmm.
us choose peace over pressure. So, once you know your values, they become a powerful filter.
And I love that powerful filter piece because a lot of what some of our other previous episodes we've talked about JOMO and this idea about the joy of missing out. And I think JOMO is a result of that filter of things that align with your values or things that don't align with your values sometimes. And so there's this like you end up not feeling guilty about not doing these things because
Yeah.
they don't align with your values anymore. I think about, I used to be really heavily involved with my kids' school activities, and I don't do that anymore.
Yeah.
It was important to me to connect with other
Yeah.
families and to support the school. And then it just got to be not my and my values were different and I don't have that
Yeah.
same value of that. I really am grateful for the people who do it. But it no longer is part of my like top 5 things I want to do. And I just stepped away from that and I feel great about it. I don't feel regret. I do feel like there are other people who have kind of come in and filled my place, if you will, in these other schools.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think like using my example, if I say rest, connection, and family are my values, right? Then that helps us start asking those questions, like you're saying, right? Like, does this support the life I'm trying to build? Is this a yes from alignment or is this a yes from guilt or fear? Asking yourself, will this bring me closer to peace or further into pressure? And so when you've tapped into those values, I think especially when your kids are little, like you are more involved in school, and that is your value,
Mhm.
might be like education for your children. And I know we've gone over that in the podcast because volunteering at the kids' school leads to like success. Like there's a big connection between the importance of volunteering in the kids' school and those opportunities lessen as the kids get older, right? There's a less student teacher ratio, like they don't need as much assistance with things. And so then that value of education looks different, right? That looks different. And so when your life is
Yes.
aligned, you're really no longer chasing productivity for validation, which is what I'm constantly doing. But you end up choosing presence over perfection.
Yeah. And, you end up building that life that really feels like it's truly yours and that you're kind of in control of it. You're just not feeling like you're just kind of managing to get through it. So, our reflection prompt for this episode, as you're taking a walk, sitting around the house, driving in the car, is to think about what value are you craving more of in your life right now? What is the one change you can make to honor that? I love this prompt. I really want to sit with it because I think what's really cool about it is thinking about like, sure, we've aligned our lives with our values, but kind of always kind of gut checking like right now, what is something that's really important to me that I'm really not feeding, right? I'm not giving the care and feeding to that I need in terms of my values. And like, how can you kind of make a change to do that? And I think especially right now in the fall, we're getting back to, it's not so in Chicago, it's cold where it's not as fun because I can't be outside in the sun. I mean, I kind of can and I'm not sweating, but somehow it feels melancholy. But like what's exciting is thinking about that. What are these little changes I can make that can really help me get back to my core values?
Yeah. Yeah. Your time is your life. And if your calendar doesn't reflect your values, it's never too late to shift. Start small, start honest, and give yourself permission to live a life that feels less like a checklist and more like you.
Your life hasn't been created by accident. It's designed by the choices that are aligned with your truth. So think about that. And if this episode helped you feel more grounded, share it with your friends, tag us on social media, #ChasingBrighter, when you can continue to get a deeper connection with Jessica and I. Thanks for listening today.
If you loved today's episode, share with a friend.
Are you ready to chase brighter days ahead? Subscribe to Chasing Brighter now, and let's embark on this exciting journey together.